Our lives are laid out on a road of bumps, turns, struggles, and more. How do we respond? How do we endure adversity for learning and growth? I'm Aubrey Johnson, and we'll explore these questions and more on the Road to Rediscovery. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Road to Rediscovery. I'm your host, Aubrey Johnson. The Road to Rediscovery is about reflecting on life lessons to learn and grow from them, and of course, pay it forward and uplift others who are struggling through dark times. If you wish to connect with the Road to Rediscovery beyond listening to the weekly episodes, I want to personally invite you to follow our Road to Rediscovery Facebook page. We are a collective positive vibe of 815 followers strong and growing, chock full of thought provoking, inspirational quotes, posts of positivity, solo and guest video shorts, and a lot more. There's something for everyone on this page if you're seeking motivation and inspiration. Just search for the page R2R Podcast while on Facebook. Select it, then click follow. And while you're there, if you feel that you would recommend this podcast to someone, please click the reviews link and share your thoughts of the show. Again, the page name to search for is R2R Podcast. I want to thank you in advance for growing the page and for always having your loyal listenership. All right. My special guest has endured and overcame a chronic illness to the point of reversing it through fasting and emotional healing. Today, he uses that experience and growth to empower others to reclaim their health and their purpose. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Mr. Chris James to the show. Chris, welcome to the show. It's so great to have you here.
Aubrey, it is a pleasure. I'm glad we were able to do this. I'm excited to share.
Oh, thank you. And we reciprocate. We are equally as happy. I can't wait for us to unpack just some incredible anecdotes that you have to share based on your journey. And speaking of which, what better time than the present? If you can help us out by giving us a little context in the early part of your journey, right? What type of challenges did you have in your first encounter with chronic illness, and what brought that? How'd that come across your path early in your journey?
Well, not to go too far back, when I was 12, my grandmother decided to change the way that we did our Thanksgiving dinner or Christmas dinner. She decided to alter the family's eating habits. Now, I didn't live with her. We would
Okay.
only come, a couple times a year to just experience family food. And I was devastated because she altered the pie crust. She altered the macaroni and cheese. She altered, all these things. And at the age of 12, I couldn't understand it. But
Hmm.
she was learning about health and wellness, and that was like my first real experience with understanding health and wellness. Now, fast forward about 20 years, I was in Dallas and working as an electrical apprentice. And at the time, we worked in this shop. It was a they had like doors, big doors, so there was some form of ventilation. But Texas is hot. It was 120 degrees. It's like an oven in there.
Yeah.
And although I had some information about like how to stay healthy, it wasn't anything I was really applying. So um, one day I was working overtime and I ended up getting a really, really bad dizzy spell.
Mm.
Now, anybody who knows me knows that I don't call off sick. I don't leave work early. I just always work my whole shift. And that day I couldn't do it.
Mm.
So I ended up going home. And over the weekend, I was literally praying to God to spare my life. That's how bad it was. I thought I was going to die.
Oh
I was
my.
talking to my mom, and my mom was like, well, maybe it's ear infection or wax or something. Because I told her it felt like the room was spinning. Like if you get drunk and the room starts spinning,
Hmm.
that's how it felt.
Mm.
And so I tried everything she had suggested. Nothing was working. And then finally, she was like, well, maybe you're dehydrated. Drink some water. And I'm thinking to myself, like, there's no way that everything I'm experiencing is because I'm dehydrated. But I didn't have anything to lose. So I started drinking water. And within 24 hours, I was back to normal. That was when I very first realized that health, chronic illness, and everything that we make this big mountain is not nearly as big as what it seemed. I thought I was going to die. I had never experienced anything like that in my life, and I just needed water.
Mm.
And so, as I progressed in my electrical career, I noticed that the guys around me were aging rapidly. We're talking, these guys are maybe 10 years older than me at the time, but they looked like they were 15, 20 years older easily. They were all curled up. People had all kind of issues. And
Mhm.
I just remember saying, I'm not going to be like them.
Right, right. Yeah.
And so I ended up getting laid off from work one day,
Right.
which is common in the trade. And instead of going back to work, I was like, you know what? I'm going to take this time and I'm going to study natural wellness. I'm going to study the body. So over the course of 8 months, I spent 10 to 16 hours every day learning about natural modalities, how the body works, experimenting on myself. And by the end of it, I had reversed my own chronic illness, which at the time I was dealing with an infection that the doctors, I went to a specialist and everything, they were like, we don't know what it is. Nothing will show up on their test. They had given me shots, pills, drug, everything, and literally nothing was working.
Mm.
By the end of my journey, I had begun fasting, and within the first week of me fasting, the irritation that I experienced with my infection had gone away, and I knew I found something.
Wow. Man, that is tremendous because I mean, you had two in that piece you shared with us, there were two kind of discoveries, right? I mean, first is the water. Just simply, I mean, I've always referred to water, and I know it's cliche, but it's like the liquid of life, right? I mean, um, humans, animals, everyone, you live on this earth, still life. You need water, okay?
Mhm.
And then, of course, when you're laid off and you start to really hit these books and understand, the body and nutrition and those sorts of things, and then you fast. I mean, and a lot of these irritating conditions you were having and starts to go away. It's absolutely tremendous, Chris. So, I guess there's a degree of cleansing that happens when you fast. Is that right?
Oh yeah, well, I've learned a lot about natural healing, and there's lots of things you can do. Everything from flowers that you can eat
Yeah.
to herbs to breathing techniques.
Hmm.
I have, and this is just my personal opinion, but in my experience, fasting is the most holistic tool, wellness therapy that you can use. When you talk about the ease of use, when you talk about availability of tools, and you know what I mean, like
Yeah.
literally, almost everyone can fast safely,
Right.
and it is gets to root problems, which is basically what you're talking about. It's clearing the system out. It's cleaning the cells.
Yes.
So yeah.
Gotcha. Gotcha. You know, I think as just general human beings, we all have the best of intentions when it comes to making a commitment to eat healthier, be more mindful about what we ingest in our bodies, and so forth. But there are certain things that what we think may be healthy may not have a healing type of effect on us. In fact, it could be something that is causing more anxiety or maybe exhaustion or who knows, maybe even a breakout on your skin, and then you have a fasting and after a fasting you you feel better. Whatever that irritation was, it's gone. Is there any method uh, towards I don't know, something a little targeted, um, to try to figure out what is that is causing the irritation? I know fasting is very holistic and it gets rid of whatever it is because you're not taking in anything in the terms of, I guess, solid foods. But I don't know. Is it worth it or is there a method to try something that can target? How can you find out what it is that is ailing you? I guess is what I'm asking.
Well, yeah, you've got the traditional methods that are available as far as testing goes, right?
Okay.
Now there's certain methods that I don't recommend no matter what, and
Yeah.
it's the I don't know how much you want to get into it, but there's certain testing methods that can actually be more harmful than helpful.
Gotcha.
But outside of that, it's really getting to know and learn your body. So
Okay.
there are specialties where, okay, you've got iridology,
Yeah.
where someone can basically look at your eyes, and based on that science, they can determine where you have blockages, what's going on, and your body gives you different readouts. Even your nail bed, your fingernail bed can tell you about the health of your body internally. So learning, there's multiple different alternative, I guess you'll say, sciences where the body will tell you. For example, your actual face is like a map of your internal system. So
Uh,
when you're talking about like skin eruptions, pimples, things of that nature,
yeah.
certain pimples, certain places on the face will tell you what system or what organ is distressed. So you can use tools like that to understand more succinctly what's going on. And I'm all for it, right? I'm all for understanding the underlying cause. The thing about it is, depending on how much time you have and the level that the practitioner is at, sometimes the information isn't as accurate as we'd like.
I see.
And so another tool that you could use alongside of everything else is what's called muscle testing,
Hmm.
where you basically tap into your ability to ask your own body questions about what's going on.
Hmm.
And it responds by giving you feedback. I don't know if you've ever seen like the muscle testing or anything like that before, but basically, someone could hold their arm out, and you would have another individual who would kind of put pressure on the arm, and depending on how strong or weak you are when that person puts pressure on your arm, will allow you to ask the body questions. So
Hmm.
when something's affirmative or positive, you'll be
Right.
strong. When something's negative, if you're lying, it'll be weak. And so you
Uh-huh.
can double test. The body has all these amazing tools where you could double test your work. If someone says, hey, I see a blockage here. You're
Right.
in your lymphatic system.
Yeah.
You could use something like muscle testing to double check it. So that's
Gotcha.
just some of the ways and tools that are outside of mainstream medical practices that you could
Hmm.
use to understand. But ultimately, if you start with fasting and
Hmm.
you
Hmm.
utilize some of the strategies we teach, you
Yeah.
might find that you don't need to know exactly what caused the problem.
Oh, well, that's very encouraging. Yeah. That's very encouraging, and it kind of helps in not getting into some of those areas or methods that could be more detrimental, than helpful, right? No, that's great to know, Chris, and I appreciate that. And so, if you don't mind, I'd like to maybe take a step back, and for clarity's sake, for the sake of the listeners, right? Um, uh, I think we all have kind of a general understanding of what fasting is, but if you can just kind of break it down from the early introduction to fasting that Chris James had, of what that fasting looked like, just for the clarity of the listeners to understand what fasting is.
Sure. So I was raised traditional Baptist. My
Mhm,
dad is a pastor and has been most of my life.
mhm,
So my first introduction to fasting was through the church.
mhm,
Now, biblical fasting is what they call nowadays dry fasting. And
mhm,
that just simply means you don't eat or drink for a predetermined period of time.
mhm,
When you do it in the church, it's always with a spiritual emphasis,
mhm,
usually to build a better relationship with God, or if you're praying for something, it helps to heighten your prayers and the impact you have.
mhm,
And so that was the first type of fasting I ever did, and I got to be honest, I absolutely hated it. We
mm,
did it. I did it as children, and I didn't truly understand the benefit of it.
yeah.
And also, it was always just purely about the spiritual benefits. They never talked about the energetic or the physical benefits of fasting.
Hmm.
So for me, it was just like, I don't get this. I don't want to do this. I'm hungry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
as I got older and I started to develop issues and I started learning about fasting again,
Hmm.
I realized that you could actually use it to heal the body. But the thing is, like the body or your being exists and it's multidimensional. So you've got the spiritual realm or the energetic realm, you've got the physical realm, and you've got the conscious mind, and these elements of yourself kind of they live in different spaces. What I find is that fasting is systemic and holistic in the sense that if you've experienced trauma as a child, or you know maybe you want a closer relationship with your creator, whatever the case is, you can use fasting as a tool for all of these different things.
Right.
Now, in plain terms, like what we're doing in modern times is called water fasting. So that's like what's really popular now, and
Yeah.
that just simply means that you're going to fast while supplementing with water. So
Mhm.
you can fast for 24 hours, 48 hours, or even 3 days. You're going to predetermine that time frame. And I do want to say that this is a distinct difference between starvation, because a lot of people think, well, Chris, what's the difference between fasting and starvation? Both of them pertain to you not eating. Well, there's two main differences. Number one, with starvation, you don't predetermine that you're going to be starving, right? It's
Right.
something that happens to you that's outside of your control.
Yeah.
So that's the major big difference. The other thing is, typically when you're experiencing starvation, you're getting a little bit of calories. You're getting a little bit of sustenance, which drives the body to still rely on nutrition from an outside source in order to power the body, power the system.
Hmm.
Whereas with fasting, you're in complete control. You could eat today if you want to. So that changes the mental dynamic. Plus, when you come completely off of food, your digestive system goes to rest, and the body actually starts utilizing ketones for fuel. So it shifts the fuel source away from traditional nutrition, and it utilizes ketones, which is like an amazing renewable energy source that also inadvertently burns fat, because like that's what it's made out of.
Right.
So yeah.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So there's a degree of stores, I guess, that's used when you come off food to fast as well, or is that the ketones you're referring to? Or
Oh, for sure. I mean, the body, when you're talking about like energy stores,
yeah.
yeah, I mean, the body has several different reserves. You've got your sugar reserves,
Okay.
which the body usually dumps that within about 16 hours.
Yeah.
Now, I personally think that that's very insightful, because what we're taught is that the body needs sugar, 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 glucose, glucose, blah blah blah, all this sugar in order to run, in order to function.
Yeah.
But we also understand that the body is a very intelligent machine.
Yeah.
So why would a machine that's highly intelligent dump its best energy source off top? I mean, not even a day worth of fasting dumps the sugar. Well, it's
Right.
because we've been misled, right?
Yeah.
Um, we've been taught things and made to believe things that aren't necessarily true about the body. The fat stores do a couple different things, right? The body can store energy there, but it also stores toxins.
Yeah.
So one of the cool things about the fat stores is they have basically an infinite ability to expand,
Hmm.
which is why people can go from being literally 150 pounds to 700 pounds, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
The fat stores will expand indefinitely. And their job is to make sure that if you're consuming toxicity, until the body has the opportunity to properly process that stuff out, it can safely store it in the fat, and that will protect you from it burning you. You get ulcers, or you get
Yeah.
different heart issues, different lung issues.
Right.
Like, it will literally store it as long as it can, until, of course, the different defense mechanisms we have become a problem itself,
Right.
which
Right.
happens, oftentimes in illness.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Um, no, that's truly insightful, and I want to thank you for clarifying and making the distinction for the benefit of the listeners between starvation and fasting. Right? Yeah. No one aims to go into starvation. Right? And
Right.
yeah, and so we have the control to eat when we choose to fast and have a predetermined set time. So I just wanted to kind of reemphasize those for the listener in understanding fasting, right? And just some of the prerequisites when it comes to fasting. It's a conscious choice, and it's a predetermined time, and you set the guidelines whether it's going to be dry or supplement with water and that sort of thing. So uh Chris, I want to talk about, well, I tell you what, I want to first ask your opinion on something here that is, I think it's a I don't want to call it a fad or a trend, but it's something that's practiced quite a bit lately, and in relation to fasting. And then from there, I have another question about how this is all connected to mindset and mental health. So the first question is your thoughts on intermittent fasting. Is it effective, and are there benefits?
All right, so to be concise, intermittent fasting is very effective and it comes with a tremendous amount of benefit.
Okay.
However,
Hmm.
what I find is different fasting terms, different health terms, they get hijacked by the nutritional industry or even the fitness community or certain communities, certain entities that essentially want to utilize them as buzzwords,
Yeah.
and they'll manipulate what they truly mean, and then they will sometimes they will fade the benefit out,
Hmm.
and in order to make the idea a little bit more palatable, they will take the edges off and they'll remove a lot of what makes um, fasting powerful. So, for example, intermittent fasting widely is taught that you can be very successful with like a 8 hour fasting window, or I'm sorry, a 6 hour fasting window, because it's 18-6.
18.
The 18-6. So you would um, I'm getting myself a little mixed up here. So with the intermittent fasting schedule, you would essentially fast for 16 hours and then you would eat for 8 hours.
Gotcha.
Sorry, I got myself a little tied up real
Oh,
quick, but
that's okay.
you would fast for 16 hours and then you would eat for 8 hours.
Okay.
My problem with the 8 hour eating window is it essentially gives you a normal eating window. You
Mm,
know,
yeah.
people are usually going to eat within an 8 hour window regardless.
Waking hours.
It's 8 hours. Like you
Yeah.
like just pick an 8 hour period of time. You can say
Yeah.
from noon to 8 p.m.
Right.
The most that you're probably missing there is breakfast, maybe if you eat breakfast.
Right.
But other than that, that's a large duration of time where you can actually eat. And the problem with that is it's not enough change to really see impact.
I
But
see.
you're kind of tricked into believing, well, I'm fasting, you know?
Hmm. Hmm.
So I usually don't recommend an 8 hour eating window virtually at all. If
Right.
somebody was like really, really tuned into fasting, they've already reached their goals and they understood the benefit, yeah, maybe on the back end as maintenance, you could use that.
Okay.
But when it comes to intermittent fasting, I really recommend starting with a 6 hour eating window maximum. That would
Gotcha.
be as wide as I'd go. Um,
Okay.
I would personally push for a 4 hour eating window. That's me personally when I coach.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
usually a 6 hour we can work around that. But in order to get the benefits out of that 6 hour eating window, you still have to be very mindful about what you eat.
Yes.
And that's the piece that a lot of people who do intermittent fasting, they miss that. So
Mm.
if someone's intermittent fasting and they're not getting the benefits, it's probably because either they're not fasting long enough and or they haven't adjusted their diet to compensate for the big eating window.
Right. Right. I got you. They just go all out when they're in that window.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's really spinning your wheels when it comes to that. And I also appreciate how you mentioned different ways that intermittent fasting by mainstream has somewhat been diluted in a sense. I suppose, and I appreciate your recommendations. The 4 hour, preferably 6 hour max for that eating window, right?
Hmm.
And the fact that someone can use something like this, a practice like this, on the back end for maintenance. Yeah, those are key insights that I think will help anyone who wants to explore the essence of fasting, whether it's intermittent fasting or the full dry fasting or even water fasting. Well, thank you for that clarification and for your thoughts on intermittent. Going into this conversation, I that was one particular question I wanted to see where you stood on. So I really appreciate that, Chris. Um, I wanted to talk with you now about uh, fasting and mindset. Okay, mindset, mental health, mental toughness, resilience. When it comes to fasting and those other elements, those other virtues that I just mentioned, in my opinion, it's a chicken or the egg type of thing. And here's what I mean by that. Someone who wants to build resilience, I truly believe, just from my very, very meager fasting experience, resilience and enhanced mindset and perspective can be strengthened and grown through an experience of fasting. I truly believe that. Okay. However, I think it takes a degree of those things to start fasting, to have the mindset to make the choice to fast. So it's like, well, which comes first? Do I have,
Hmm.
must I have the resilience to do fasting to build my resilience and mental strength? Or do I just go for it if I don't have much resilience? And hopefully over time, as I do it, it strengthens. Um, I want to know, first off, what are your thoughts, or can you explain to us how fasting impacts the mindset, how fasting impacts the way we see and look at things, and if whether or not there's a difference between when you didn't fast and when you are fasting, or even on the back end after you fasted. You know, how is that connected to the mindset and to your perspective and to your behavior, right? And then from there, if you can talk about the impact it has on resilience and so forth. I know that's a loaded question. I apologize for that, Chris. These are things I'm really, really interested in for the listeners to understand. How do we build resolve and resilience, and not just make this a one time commitment to switch to, and then after 2.5 hours, you're opening a bag of chips. You know what I mean?
Right, right. No, it's a great question. It's definitely a chicken or egg scenario. I think I might have an answer for you. I've had the pleasure of working with literally thousands of people, and getting the opportunity to explore different angles. So for me personally, I was one of those people that I had built a strong mind through other endeavors in my life. I've been through a
Yes.
lot before I ever started fasting.
Hmm.
So I had a lot of willpower. I
Hmm.
had a lot of mental toughness.
Hmm.
And also I had um, probably the biggest thing for me personally was I had done all those months of research. So I learned about the impact that the food had. Then I learned that there were like direct connections between what the food was doing to us and how the food was being manufactured. It was all being done in an intentional manner. So for me, it wasn't just about, oh, I want to get healthy. It started off that way. But what drove me when things got really hard was understanding someone's doing this to me. It's like it's war. There's an entity, a group of people, a structure that wants us sick, that wants us in brain fog and whatever
Yeah.
for their own reasons.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that really helped me push when I really didn't want to do it. The other thing too was I got very comfortable with detox symptoms. So part of my research wasn't just learning the techniques and what to do and how to do it, but it
Hmm.
was like, what am I going to experience when I do this? Now, I was still very green. So at the time, I didn't know exactly what I was going to experience, but I was aware of what I could possibly experience.
Right.
And that helped a lot too, because when you're mentally weak, right? You've run out of willpower or whatever the case may be,
Right.
and then you experience a harsh detox symptom, you're more likely to talk yourself out of it if you don't have a strong understanding of the process,
Right.
what you can experience and what it's doing.
Mm-hmm.
So those things helped me in early on. And so I had my very first, I don't even, my very first fast, I did like 13 days of water only,
Wow.
which
My
was
goodness.
insane. And my goal was to do 40 days. I don't recommend that for anybody. I'm gonna tell y'all that right now. That's
Okay.
not what I recommend, and we'll talk about like how I recommend you approach it. But for me, it was an experience where it changed how. Okay, you know how you hear about natural disasters,
Yeah.
people getting trapped
Yeah.
on deserted islands, whatever. I learned that I can go almost 2 weeks without food with a sense of cognitive function. I
Yes.
mean, what I experienced in that 2 weeks was definitely up and down, but I had moments of euphoria.
Yeah.
There were moments where I felt like I never needed to eat again. There were moments where I was like, I want to be as healthy as I can for my body. So with all the detox symptoms and all the kind of negative stuff that comes along with not eating that you might be able to think of, there was some profound positive things.
Mm-hmm.
And it really encouraged me to like, when I go out in the world and I experience an obstacle, like that's nothing compared to not eating for 14 days, like two
Yeah.
weeks. Like, it's
Ah.
nothing.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
So you're 100% correct. It does build mental toughness. It does build that resiliency, and it when you take that and you apply it to different aspects of your life, whether it's your relationship, your finances, or any projects that you want to accomplish, you're like, bro, this is nothing compared to not eating for 2 weeks. And so
That's true.
that was a huge W for me.
Yeah.
Now, as we look at it from the other standpoint, I said earlier, I don't recommend that for people. I was at a
Yeah.
place where I wasn't working. So if I needed to crash out for a day, I could.
Yep.
Um, Most people have children, spouses, work. They are active in their life.
You're
And
right.
so what I found is a much better solution than trying to work up all this willpower
Yes.
is to properly prepare your body for the fast ahead of time
Yes.
and then create a gradient so that you'll start detoxing before you ever start fasting.
Mm-hmm.
And then that way you transition into the fasting much more seamlessly. You'll get the
Mm.
benefits of the fasting without all the harsh detox symptoms. You don't need all the mental toughness.
Yeah.
You feel good, right? And you can just look at the upside of it. And that's kind of how I approach it now.
Very nice. Very nice. And this gradient that you're talking about, Chris, is this something in which you help your clients with from the detox, gradually going through the detox? You're not yet fasting, and then uh, transitioning from detox to fasting. So your body's more prepared and not, I hate dare I say, cold turkey, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I virtually never recommend that a client jump into fasting. Now, I did do recently. I did a video where I talked about losing the ability to lose a month's worth of weight in 1 week.
Yeah.
Okay, and in that video, I kind of prefaced it with, "Hey, if you want to do this and you want to jump in cold turkey, you can. However, I would recommend a minimum of a 3 day preparation if you're not used to fasting, if you're not used to eating whole foods and stuff, because if you're not already in that vein, you will shock your system doing this protocol.
Right.
And I don't want that for anybody.
Right.
So there are some people who live a more healthy lifestyle. They may have never fasted before, but they drink their water, they eat their fruit, and they don't eat a ton of processed foods. And
Right.
so a protocol like that, they could jump into because it is a lighter protocol than, some of the protocols we do on our challenges.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you're standard American diet, like you literally had McDonald's, this week, or you don't like drinking water, or you can't remember the last time you had a piece of fruit, I'm going to say no. Some period of preparation is going to be needed. And
Yes.
the main focus of the preparation is really hydration.
Yes.
That's the key to the preparation, because when we talk about detoxifying the body, in
Yeah.
order to detox the body, you got to be hydrated.
100%.
Like you can't move toxins out of your system. When you think about bowel movements, urination, sweat, even the breath, you can't move anything out without water.
You need water to
So
flush it through. Yeah.
gotta.
Yeah.
So when we're in a severely dehydrated state, which most of us are, you got to get that water flowing. I mean, it also helps with the lymphatic system, the blood, all of the issues, all the root causes that you're going to experience are going to come from some level of cellular dehydration.
Mm.
So, and this is the thing people don't understand. Like when they take pills, even if you're taking herbs or something that's good for you,
Yeah.
if you're not hydrated, it's not going to work well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's the reason why water fasting is such a powerful tool in modern times, because it's like, okay, I'm only taking water. Like I'm naturally increasing my hydration levels. Plus, I'm putting digestion to the side for a period of time. When you're not digesting a whole bunch of stuff, you get to snatch back all of that energy that it takes to digest food, and you get to apply it towards healing and health and restoration and everything.
And that's the reclaiming part we were talking about earlier, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. So let me ask you something in the spirit of that. Okay. And one thing you mentioned earlier that you encountered when you went through that 13-day fast with the target of 40 days. Is that right?
Yeah, I wanted to do the Jesus 40-day fast.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the 40-day. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
You said at one point you reached a euphoric point, right?
Mm,
That you felt like you could go on the rest of your days like this, right?
mhm.
Okay, so I think I may have felt that myself in a smaller microcosm of your 13-day journey. And this was some years ago, but I decided that for 2 days I was going to fast. However, 12 hours before the first day, I was restricting myself to just water.
Mm.
Okay. And to me, the euphoric part was, to your point earlier, you talked about deserted island, and the beach and so forth. So I don't know, I think Castaway, Tom Hanks, right? So
Mhm.
deserted island, from the shore, right? I'm a man of metaphors. So from the shore going out, you have things, that can tip and toss you, and they're coming in, you're trying to go out, they're coming in. And then at some point you reach the breakers.
Mm.
And after you reach the breakers, then you're kind of past that rough part, but you're kind of far out from that shore and the water's a bit calmer. Um, I equated my 2-day journey to that because the first the first 16, 17 hours of fasting, it was rough. I mean, I
Yeah.
was tossing and turning. I was trying to, go further in time, and then, just bad thoughts and,
Yeah.
a test of willpower, patience. I got irritable, and start coming back at me, and then I don't know. I guess maybe in the 20th hour of the first day, I reached those breakers, and my stomach wasn't growling. I felt functional still, and some of those urges really subsided because of the length of time. Is there some metaphoric or euphoric view of breakers in a fasting journey, or was that just something in my head that was playing, that I was going through?
No, it's not just in your head. As you know, I experienced that, and a lot of people do. Now, everybody does not,
Okay.
and there's a reason for that. But what I believe is happening is the body. Okay, so I used to be an electrician,
Okay.
and electricity it works in alternating current. So you have this sine wave where it just goes up and down, right,
Yeah.
very rapidly.
Right.
The the body, in my opinion, heals or detoxes in a similar manner. You have the highs and the lows. So you have the times when the body is purging,
Right.
it's
Yep.
pushing stuff out. and then
Yep.
you have the time when it's resting.
Yes.
No different from your heartbeat or your breath. When you really start to think about it and you look at nature holistically, you see this breath that nature does, this inhale, exhale that nature does all the time.
Yeah.
So when we fast, we get to experience that kind of in that level of detoxification. The other thing we got to remember is you're not experiencing discomfort because you're fasting. You're experiencing discomfort because you're toxic.
Ah.
Because if you have a clean system, there's no problem. Fat. You don't get all these sweats and heart palpitations and
Yeah.
hunger pains,
Yeah.
right? So
Uh-huh.
that literally comes from the body doing work. By the way, hunger pains are they're not exactly hunger pangs. It has nothing to do with hunger. What it is the intestines are actually cleansing themselves. So there's a digestive fluid or a fluid that the body uses to aid in digestion called ghrelin,
Yeah.
which is released in preparation for you eating. Okay,
Hmm.
so and this goes back to our preparation week. When we do our preparation week before we fast, we change the frequency of when we eat in order to control ghrelin production.
Yeah.
So ghrelin is going to spike during the times when you typically would eat. So if you eat 6 times a day, which is very common, people don't realize because they think sit down and eat meals, but
Hmm.
it's like if you get a bag of chips on your way to work every day, that's you're eating,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So every time you eat throughout the day, ghrelin spikes. The body learns. It has a natural clock. So before it's time for you to eat, you'll start to feel the hunger pangs. And you'll think, oh, it's
Ah.
that time to
Okay.
eat, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
No,
No.
the body is just intelligent. It knows you're going to eat. So in preparation, it spikes the ghrelin so that you get more efficient digestion.
Ah. The
So
intestine. Okay.
what we
Wow.
do is we teach
Wow.
you how to we want to decrease the frequency
Yeah.
of your meals and we
Yeah.
want to decrease the density of the foods you eat.
Yes.
If you do those two things, you'll reduce the frequency of the ghrelin spikes and the intensity of the ghrelin spikes.
Mm.
That way, when you go into your fast, it's like, oh, this isn't that bad,
You're
right?
past the breakers.
You're past the breakers, right?
Yeah.
So understanding how the body functions, we
Hmm.
can kind of get ahead of it. Now, once again, everyone is different, and some people
Yeah.
have maybe their breakers are a little further out. You
Right.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
What I find is that usually by day 3, the mass majority of people have gotten past that choppy water
Good.
and they experience this more, euphoric experience.
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful. Man, you really broke that down. I am I'm so thankful and grateful for how you articulated that because it was crystal clear, crystal
Mm,
clear.
good.
And for my metaphoric explanation, you gave a scientific explanation as to why those pains happen, right? And what's happening to your body when they come. Like you said, the body's smart. There's a natural clock inside of it. It knows when you are on a pattern of eating times, and
Mhm.
that's what your intestines and body's doing is preparing to make that space to make your digestion a little better. So, man, Chris, that explanation was crystal clear. Thank you so much for that, sir. That was an
Yes, sir.
incredible insight for the listeners. I have no doubt. And one of the last questions I have for you, Chris, is um, again with building resilience or with having uh, being in a state where you are fasting. Okay, uh, like you said, going through the gradient where you're getting rid of the toxins first, and then you're then you go into the fasting period. Maybe it's a bit easier for those that prepare their bodies for that, but I can't help but think that there's still that classic, what do I do to preoccupy my mind so I'm not thinking about food?
Hmm.
um and I wanted to get from you, what are some supplemental methods or activities that one can do that not just gets their mind off food, but is enriching to the body, enriching to the mind, whether it's meditation, whether it's cryotherapy, or cold plunges, or acupuncture. I mean, I'm just spitballing, throwing some stuff out
Mhm.
there, but what's a good supplemental mind occupying activity during a fasting period that one can participate in without negatively impacting their fasting journey?
Yes, sir. Great question. So the thing that's great about fasting, I was just talking about this earlier, for those who are really busy, it actually you recoup a tremendous amount of time. People don't really think about how much time it takes to eat. They
Yeah.
just think about the act of eating itself, but it's really going to the grocery store. So it's the grocery shopping, the drive time,
Yep.
then it's bringing the food home, preparing it,
Yep.
then it's the cleanup, it's the actual eating itself. You got to defecate. There's a lot of time associated with eating. So what happens is people start fasting and they realize how much time they have. And just like you said, I don't mind, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's good to prepare ahead of time a schedule, certain activities that you can have already planned. Usually, I will recommend wellness therapies. If you've got the resources to do it and the ability to do it, like planning a colonic is a great tool to have when you fast.
Yeah.
So depending on how long you fast, I would usually recommend either planning it at the end of your fast, or if you're fasting for more than like 7 days, then I would do it
Right.
at the end of the first week. That does two things. Number one, it flushes the system. So when you start releasing toxins from your fat stores, inflammation, blah blah blah, stuff can get stuck.
Yeah.
And this is a great manual way to kind of flush it out.
Mhm.
But it gives you something to look forward to if you're not feeling well, because usually what I find is like if you're releasing toxins and things get stuck, that will make you feel sick. So
Mm-hmm.
by planning a colonic, whether midway through your process or at the end of your process, and understanding, okay, it's because all these toxins are kind of stuck. The elimination pathways aren't open as well as they should. And I'm feeling ill for that reason. It's like understanding that helps mentally. It's like, I'm going to go get flushed. I'll feel better.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Breath work is a great tool. So one of the things I did was I went on YouTube and I started researching different ways to naturally alkalize the body and give the body different resources it could use to heal. Learning how to open up the elimination pathways.
Right.
Well, breath work is probably one of the easiest, cheapest, quickest ways to oxygenate the body. So once again, if you're feeling really ill, you learn some deep breathing techniques, you
Yes.
apply that, you'd be surprised in just moments you can improve your constitution. Another thing is your mind. We talked earlier, mind, body, soul, energetic spirit. It's all connected, right?
Right.
So when you're fasting, your physical body becomes more susceptible, but your mind becomes more susceptible as well. And I don't know if susceptible is the right way to say it, but like you become more easily influenced. So it's
Yes.
very important that you're not listening to certain type of music or certain type of TV programs
Yeah.
or certain type of people when you're fasting, right?
Yeah.
If your if your goal is to build healthy habits, lifestyle change, and really be successful, you want to listen to things that are going to encourage you. I'll just say my platform is a great option for that. I've got hundreds, if not thousands, of hours of content. You can always throw that on. I used to listen to a lot of health documentaries, different audio books. You can read books, obviously. And then another option is usually we've got a project, something we've been putting off for whatever
Right.
reason, time, focus, whatever.
Right.
Work on that project. You
Mm.
just got to be intentional about your time and what
Hmm.
you plan to do, and then just follow through with it. You'd be surprised at how much you can get done while you're fasting. And really, like the fasting, the pangs, they only last about 20 minutes. So
Wow.
if you can stave it off for 30 minutes, you've
Right.
usually forgotten about it and you're good to go. Or another technique that I love to tell people about, get yourself a high quality sea salt. You put one little grain under the tongue, you let it dissolve, and then you drink your water. Well, the sea salt, when you have a complete salt, it has magnesium in it. And magnesium, when you allow it to absorb into the body, it's a water hungry molecule. So as you drink the water, it will draw the water into your cells, which will boost your hydration levels. And hydration is how you get energy.
Mm.
So if you're feeling sluggish, you're feeling you do that and it'll help boost your energy. So, and we've got many other tools, man. I could literally talk all day about tools. Yeah.
Oh man, no, that's wonderful. I mean, you've mentioned a bunch of tools, and you also empowered us to kind of look at our own lives and the things that we have in our own space, right? Projects we've been working on. I've been working to refinish that coffee table in the garage. It's all sanded down, and I got to sand down another level, then find some finish for it and all that stuff. I mean, projects like that, they can occupy the mind, enrich the mind, and like you said, the things that can cause you more harm than good with music, maybe television, things like that. That can play into the toxicity of of breaking down your resilience or maybe even compromising it. So surrounding yourself with the content as what you have in your space for people to take in while going through this fasting journey is very important because it keeps you empowered, it keeps you inspired, and it keeps you on the right path that encourages the direction you're going, not deters you from it.
Mhm.
This is wonderful, Chris. How can the listeners connect with you, learn more about the great work that you're doing with your clients, and just learn more about Chris James?
Absolutely. So, for those who are listening and this message is resonating, you want to learn more about fasting, you want to maybe apply it or do some element of it. Because I will say this: sometimes this information can feel overwhelming for people. They'll have a knee jerk reaction. I could never do that.
Yeah.
We used to have a class, we call it our 40-day wellness class, where we'd have people join and we'd have them over the course of 6 weeks. And people were like, there's no way I'm fasting. And within the class, we would have them fasting for 5 days at a time with no problem.
Mm.
So you are more than capable of doing it. But one of the things I like to do is offer people a free prep guide. So if you guys, one of the ways you can connect with me is on Instagram. You just find me a healthy alternative on Instagram. And if you shoot me a DM, and in the DM, if you just put road, right? If you put road in the DM and you say, hey, I was looking for the free prep guide, I'll know that you heard the call here today, and I'll go ahead and send you that free prep guide. That is a 7-day guide that's designed to create that gradient we talked about, Aubrey, where
Yeah.
people can go from eating McDonald's one day to beginning their very first fast. And I developed that prep over the course of probably maybe like 5 years or
Wow.
so.
Wow.
So it seems very simple, but there's a tremendous amount of energy that went into perfecting that, and that's actually what we use when we host our large challenges.
Hmm.
I also have a YouTube channel, which is where you probably will get my primary content, which is a healthy alternative on YouTube, and I do multiple videos each week where I teach lessons, but I also highlight real individuals from our community who have applied the knowledge that we teach and have gotten particular outcomes, whether they've reversed disease, lost 100 pounds, or just have more energy. We've literally had people from, maybe the youngest being in their early 20s to
Yeah.
70-plus-year-old people on the show talking about their experience. And so, the last place that I would recommend that you guys go if you really want to connect with our community, we have a free membership. It's kind of like a Facebook group, but without the censorship and without the negativity that you get from being on Facebook.
Hmm.
And that's called ahacommunities.com. You just go to ahacommunities.com, and it's a free membership. We have thousands of people in there who are of the like mind. They're all looking to improve their health and wellness, mainly for weight loss. That's the most thing, that the most drawing thing that people like. But what I'll say is, in my opinion, the weight loss is literally the cherry on top.
Yeah.
If you focus on root cause, you're going to see so much benefit from your fasting journey, your lifestyle journey. It's going to make everything so much more seamless. And then, of course, the weight loss will come along with it. So that's how you can reach out and stay connected.
Oh, wonderful. Endless possibilities, countless potential. The sky's the limit once you use these methods to hone in on your root cause and also enjoy that cherry on the top with the weight loss. Chris, we're going to make sure to include all those links in the episode show notes, including, once again, listeners, you DM a healthy alternative on Instagram. Okay.
Mhm.
Send Chris a DM at a healthy alternative on Instagram. I'll leave the handle in the episode show notes. The word road, ROAD. Okay. And then you can get your free guide from there and learn some incredible insights, more insights that Chris can share. We just barely cracked the surface in this conversation, but nonetheless, you know, got got the listeners off to a great start in those who want to take this journey for just holistic inner healing, to lose weight, again the cherry on top, and to
Mhm.
truly find their purpose in life, which, with a detoxed body, you have a clearer mind. With a clearer mind, you're a clearer thinker. With a clearer thinker, you can truly realize your purpose. Chris James, I can't thank you enough for coming on this show, my man. I really appreciate it. I hope we could stay in touch and maybe even bring you on the show in the near future once again.
That would be my pleasure. If you guys want to hear more, if you want to ask questions, whatever, bring me back. We could do it. I'd love to be back. Thank you.
Fantastic. Absolutely. Thank you, Chris. And I want to thank all of you for tuning in and listening. And hey, look, you know, you may feel like this at times, but in our daily struggles and adversities, we're never alone. And hope is just around the corner. I humbly ask that you please share this show with someone you know, someone you love who needs motivation, inspiration, and support. And when it comes down to it, we're all just roadies on this journey of life, but it sure feels good having you on the road with me. Thanks again for listening. We'll chat again soon. We really hope you enjoyed this episode of The Road to Rediscovery. We'd love to hear from you. Shoot us an email at roadtorediscoverypodcast@gmail.com and leave us any questions or comments you may have.